No tears, please. Let's take a look at the Hellraiser scene that tears our souls apart. Clive Barker's 1987 film Hellraiser is one of the best and most striking horror films of its decade. Predicated on lust, infidelity, and supernatural acts of sadomasochism, Hellraiser plays like a blood-soaked, myth-heavy rendition of Walt Whitman's I Sing the Body Electric, wherein flesh is the only gauge by which one measures divinity.
Some things have to be endured, and that's what makes the pleasure so sweet.
Hellraiser and Tony Randall's 1988 sequel, Hellbound Hellraiser 2, have lost none of their visceral power over the years, and contemporary horror fans may still recoil from the film's extreme blood, open sexuality, and surreal imagery. Hellraiser is about an unhappy married couple, Larry and Julia, who are moving back into a previously abandoned property of theirs in England. They discover that Larry's brother, Frank, has been squatting there and regularly having sex on a mattress on the floor. This awakens lustful thoughts in Julia, who had previously had a very intense affair with Frank prior to her marriage. In the film's introduction, Frank opens up a mysterious puzzle box that seemingly dragged him into a hell dimension, where he was ripped apart by meat hooks on chains. When Larry accidentally cuts his hand and bleeds on the floor of an empty room, Frank's half-desiccated corpse emerges from the floorboards.
Believe me, it's me. It's really me.
The skinless incubus, Frank, reveals himself to Julia, and she agrees to lure victims to him so that he may feed on them, grow more powerful, and the two can rekindle their affair. The monkey wrenches in their plan take the form of Kirsty, who senses that something is amiss better than her clueless father, and the Cenobites, a cadre of interdimensional undead S&M enthusiasts who have mastered the ability to blend pain and pleasure.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
The climax is a cat and mouse game between Frank, Julia, and Kirsty, while Cenobites stalk around menacingly, threatening to return Frank to their hell dimension. And for the heck of it, Julia and Kirsty as well. Hellraiser, as one might imagine, had a lot of issues with censorship, given its extreme gore and huge amounts of blood. Several nude shots and images of violence had to be cut to avoid an X rating. There was also a scene where skinless Frank and Julia engaged in some sexual spanking that rating boards weren't too fond of. Clive Barker often incorporates explicit sexuality into his stories, frequently ascribing magical qualities to human fluids. One scene that did manage to sidestep censors and uptight review boards was the rebirth scene at the end of the film's first act. When Julia and Larry leave to go to the hospital after he cuts his hand, the camera lingers on Larry's blood, pooled on the floor. The blood is sucked into the floorboards and activates a mysterious, glistening, pulsating human organ underneath the floor that starts to seep a clear, viscous fluid into the room. From a puddle of gelatinous human glop emerges a pair of arm-like bones. A brain slowly begins to form. Bone solidifies, the arms merge with the brain. A person is slowly coming together. Frank's rebirth is not a dull mechanical affair. It looks like it took him a lot of work to reassemble his body after a spate of near oblivion. Moreover, it looks like it hurt quite a bit, as if Frank's very nerves were coming into being just to feel pain for the first time again. And in keeping with the themes of the movie, after experiencing a level of pain no one can imagine, the first thing Frank can think of next is to ask for sex. Eventually, Frank obtains enough victims to grow back everything but his skin. In a fit of impatience, he and Julia end up improvising the last step by merely removing Larry's skin and wrapping it around Frank. It's Kirsty who finds the mysterious lament configuration puzzle box, faces the Cenobites, and brings about the film's bloody, fiery conclusion. The many Hellraiser sequels tipped away from the original's sexual themes pretty quickly. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 parlayed sexual obsession into a more general obsession. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, turned the series into a reductive slasher, where lead Cenobite Pinhead wants to escape the lament configuration's confines to kill people on Earth. Hellraiser Bloodline cleaned up the mythology muddied by Hell on Earth, but was regarded as silly for sending Pinhead into space. After that, the films went straight to video, and the hell in those films became a more traditionally Judeo-Christian version of the place, set up as a punitive measure for committing sins on Earth. Inferno, Hellseeker, and Deader all feature the same twist ending, and Hellworld went the meta route, turning Hellraiser into a movie that exists in that world the same way Stab does in the Scream franchise. Revelations is more of a remake of the 1987 film, and at least thought to include some kink. It's a pity it's so awful.
Birth is pain.
Judgment features a bizarre bureaucracy at work, as well as angels? We've gone very far afield from Barker's original vision. A remake from director David Bruckner was recently released exclusively on Hulu to generally positive reviews. Regardless of how you feel about the remake as a whole, you have to admit, the new Cenobites look incredible.